Hello everyone, how are you? How's everything? Today we're going to start paper 3 theory core number 32 February March 2024. Okay, so let's start with the first question. It says figure 1.1 shows the distance time graph for a student. The student walks out of a classroom, stops to talk to some friends, and then walks to their next class. Okay, so in A they say describe the motion of the student between time 0 and time 6. They want the motion, okay, between time 0 and time 6 here. So notice the graph here is going a straight line going up. This means that the student is moving with a constant speed, okay? Constant speed. Why constant? Because it is a straight line, okay? So I hope it's clear. Let's go to the next question. They say calculate the speed of the student between time 0 and time 6 seconds, okay, which is the same part, the red part. Notice here they're asking about the speed, and we all know that speed equals to distance over time, right? So this is the distance on the y-axis and the time on the x-axis, which means that this is the change of y's over the change of x's. Remember, when they ask you to calculate something which is the division of the two axes, you have to find the gradient, okay, which going to be y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1, okay? This is always when they ask me to find something which is the division of the two axes. So what do I do here? We know from math, I choose 2 points, 2 random points. I will choose this point and this point. So here, the 8 actually is going to be y2, okay, and the 4 is going to be y1, okay. Here I'll go to the x-axis, and the 4 here will be x2, okay, and the 2 here is going to be x1, okay. So I substitute, okay, I will write here. So I will say here, speed is actually the gradient, okay, and I'll put the formula y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1, which is going to be y2 is 8, y1 is 4, x2 is 4, x1 is 2. So it's going to be 4 over 2, which equals 2 meters per second. Okay, this is the speed. Okay, I hope it's clear. Okay, so you will get 1 mark for writing the formula here, okay, 1 mark for the substitution, and 1 mark for the answer. I hope it's clear. Now, in part C, they say determine the length of time for which the student stops walking. Okay, how long the student stopped walking. Okay, notice from the graph, we notice that in part BC, the student actually stopped walking. How do I know that? Because basically it is the same distance. Notice if you come here to the distance axis, it's the same number of meters, so he didn't move. I need to know the period of time he stayed without walking, so I come here from B until C. Notice here the C, it has this value for time, it's between 10 and 12, which is 11. It's exactly in the middle. So the time is actually 11 minus 6. Okay, I will do it here. 11 minus 6, which equals 5 seconds. Okay, I hope it's clear. Now they say compare the student's speed in section AB with the speed in section CD. Let's go back to the graph. Okay, they want the speed in this part AB with the speed in this part CD. We notice that in part AB, the line is steeper. Okay, this line here is steeper. Let me erase here this. Let me erase actually everything to make it clearer. Okay, so this line here, AB, is actually steeper than CD, which means the speed in AB is bigger. Okay, and that's what we should say. They say compare the student's speed. We say speed in AB is actually bigger than speed in CD. Okay, in part or in section CD. I hope it's clear. Okay, if for example there is a question and they say for example explain, we should say it is bigger because the line is steeper. I hope it's clear. Now in question 2 says a student determines the volume of a piece of metal. Okay, the student pours 30 cubic centimeter of water into a measuring cylinder. The piece of metal is submerged in the water and the new volume reading on the measuring cylinder is 42 cubic centimeter. Calculate the volume of the piece of metal. So this is the tube or the beaker. It has a volume. Then we put the metal. The volume will become here. So we already know that the volume is going to be V2 minus V1, which is 42 minus 30, which is 12 cubic centimeter. I hope it's clear. Okay. In part B, they say the mass of another piece of metal is 320 gram. The volume of the piece of metal is 40 cubic centimeter. They say calculate the density of the metal and give the correct unit. Please pay attention in this question, guys, that first of all it has 4 marks. So 1 mark for the unit, okay, and 1 mark for the steps. And pay attention to something else. Here they're talking about another piece. So you are not going to use this volume. No, we're going to use this volume. Okay? We already know that density equals to mass over volume. Okay? Which equals the mass is given in 320 grams over the volume is 40 cubic centimeter. Okay, if you divide these, you will get 8. You will get 8. Okay. Okay, so we complete here. Sorry, I had to stop a little bit. So it's going to be 8. And the unit is, since this is in gram and this is in cubic centimeter, so it's going to be gram over cubic centimeter. Okay, pay attention. You're going to take 1 mark for the formula. Okay, 1 mark for the substitution, 1 mark for the number, and 1 mark for the unit. Okay, guys, I hope it's clear. Now in part C of the question, in part C they say the student drops the piece of metal into a tank of water. Okay, 2 vertical forces are acts on the piece of metal as it falls through the water in the tank. Now They say on figure 2.1, each arrow represents a vertical force. So they say, complete the diagram in figure 1-2 by labeling the two forces. As you can see, I have a force up and a force down. Okay, so the force that is up, this one, it's actually the friction between the piece of metal and the liquid. So this is friction. This is friction with the particles of the liquid, okay, or we call it drag force, okay. And the force down, we all know, it is gravity, or you can say weight force, okay, weight force, gravity force or weight. Actually, it's weight. Better to say weight, not gravity force. Okay, I hope it's clear. Now, in part I here they say the upward force is the same size as the downward force. Okay, describe the motion of the piece of metal as it falls through the water. So here, the total force acting on the object or on the piece of metal, the total force is 0. Why? Because the upward force equals the downward force, which means that F total equals to 0, which means that the ball is moving with a 0 acceleration or with a constant speed. Okay, they say describe the motion, so I say moving with constant speed. Okay, I hope it's clear. For the students who will ask, Mr. how is that possible? Since we know from before that F equal to ma, this explanation you don't need to write it in the question, okay? F equal ma, we said that the force here, the force equals to 0. This means that mass multiple acceleration equals to 0. And we all know the mass is not 0, the mass couldn't be 0. This means that only acceleration, the acceleration will be 0. The acceleration will be 0. This means, since the acceleration is 0, this means that the speed is constant. Because we know the acceleration is the change of velocity, right? I hope it's clear. Now in question 3, let me choose this color. Okay. It says figure 3.1 shows a computer on the surface of a desk. Okay. In A, they say the weight of the computer is 48 Newton. The area of the computer in contact with the surface of the desk is 20 squared centimeter. Calculate the pressure. So notice 3 marks. And they already gave me the unit. Okay, so I write, we already know that pressure equals to force over area. What is the force here? It's the force of weight. Okay, so we substitute, we'll get 48, this is the weight force over the area, 20 centimeters squared. This will give me, yeah, I found it before. No, actually it's easy. It's going to be 2.4 Newton centimeter squared. Okay, this is in Newton and this is in centimeter squared. This is the unit. Okay, so you have to read to write these steps. Notice 1 mark will be for the formula, 1 mark for the substitution, and 1 mark for the answer. Okay, because the question, all of it is 3 marks. Now, in part B of the question, they say, a student uses a force of 12 Newton to tilt the computer as shown in the figure. This is the force, okay. Calculate the moment. Calculate the moment of the 12 Newton force about the pivot. This is the pivot right here, okay. We all know Again, please pay attention, it's 3 marks. So we all know that moment is actually force multiple the distance from the pivot, right? It is the distance from the pivot. Okay, this is the formula. You'll get 1 mark here. Then I substitute force is 12 and the distance is 32. Of course, pay attention, the unit here is Newton centimeter, which means no need to change any unit. I multiply these two and I'll get, let me check what I got before. Yeah, it is 380 Newton centimeter. Okay, so 1 mark here, 1 mark for the substitution, and 1 mark for the answer. Okay, I hope it's clear, guys. Now question 4, it says figure 4.1 shows a student using a battery powered device. State the energy stored in the battery. Of course, the energy stored in the battery, guys, is potential chemical energy. Okay, so it is chemical energy. Now they say the student pushes the device along the floor at a constant speed with a horizontal force of 14 Newton. Okay, the student pushes the device for a distance 4.5 meter. They say calculate the mechanical work done by the force pushing the device. Again, 3 marks and the unit is given. This means that I have to put the formula work equals force applied multiple distance traveled, which means 14 Newton multiple 4.5 meter. Okay, I multiply these two numbers, I will get 63, and the unit is already given, 63 joules. So you'll get 1 mark here, 1 mark for substitution, 1 mark for the answer. Now the last part, they say the student uses a device, let me use this color, yeah, uses the device for a time 30 seconds. The energy input to the device is 5400 joules. Okay, calculate the power input to the device. Calculate the power. 3 marks. So power equals to energy over time. Here we get 1 mark. Equals the energy given is 5400. Okay, and the time is already 30 seconds. No need to change, it's in second. Here I will get 1 mark, and for the answer you'll get 1 mark, which is 180, and of course the unit is watt as it is given. For the answer you'll get 1 mark. Okay, I hope it's clear, guys. If you have any question, feel free to ask. We are going to complete the other questions in the other parts of this series of videos. Okay, have a nice day. Bye bye.